because this session will be in a very fast pace. So if we are doing it too formal, we tend to be less dynamic. So let's try to be a little bit relaxed, but yeah, let's see what we will be discussing today. So I'm trying to set the context for this morning discussion. From ideas to impact, European transport session. This session will highlight innovative solution in the transport sector across Asia and the Pacific as it faces a convergence of acute crises and structural challenges that demand urgent, innovative responses. In this context, the forum platform highlights the depth and breadth of European innovation in transport. And European firms operating at the frontier of sustainable and intelligent transport will present not theoretical concepts, but proven, scalable solutions ready for deployment in the Asia-Pacific context. Before we are moving forward to the fast-paced discussion, we have an honor to have our ED Bertrand Fourneau to be with us. ED Fourneau is an executive director for a constituency office representing Belgium, France, Israel, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Switzerland. ED Fourneau, the floor is yours.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to attend for the second time to ADB's Transport Forum, a key event organized successfully every 2 years since 2008. And to participate in this showcase session organized by the transport sector of ADB, I thank in particular Bertrand Goualou and Clément Musil, and the liaison officers of the embassies of France, Finland, Spain, and Sweden, the European countries that are represented by panelists today. I also acknowledge the active participation of the European Space Agency and the presence in the auditorium of my colleague Martin Tabi from SuiteFree, and of numerous stakeholders from the public and private sectors in Europe, Asia, and the Pacific. This session must be seen as a collective achievement, but I would like to commend the pivotal role played by our friend José Varea Ortega from the Embassy of Spain in Manila, who coordinated the preparation of the program and the recruitment of panelists, and also the excellent team spirit of our liaison officers that will be illustrated by the coming events of this year, the Asia Clean Energy Forum in June, and the Business Opportunities Fair in September. I would like to underline that the topic chosen for this session is particularly timely. The ongoing crisis in the Middle East has shown the dependence of numerous DMCs in the region on imported fossil fuels, but also their economic and social vulnerabilities in front of disruptions in the transport sector. A massive effort is needed in numerous countries, starting with the Philippines, to develop innovative, including digitalization and private sector participation, and decarbonized transport solutions. It is both a matter of social cohesion and of economic effectiveness and efficiency. In this regard, European countries can be seen as an interesting case study for the development of urban public transport networks and also of cross-border transport corridors for both passengers and freight. The session will also show how digital tools and Earth observation technologies can play a decisive role in designing and operating transport systems. I hope that we will learn a lot from the interactive and participative session. I thank all our panelists for their engagement in promoting European transport solutions that can be adapted to the Asia and Pacific context. I leave the floor to our moderator, Andri. I wish you all an insightful participation in this European Showcase session of ADB's 2026 Transport Forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vidi Bruno. Okay, so as I said before, this will be a fast-pacing discussion. So we will have 7 presenters for our session today. Each presenter will be provided with around 10 minutes in total, split by 7 minutes for the presentation and 3 minutes for the question and answer. 3 minutes for the question and answer. But that doesn't mean that all questions cannot be answered. You may only have one answer which can be easily answered, one question which easily be answered, or it actually can trigger further questions after the session. So let's try to stick with that 7+3 formula. Our first presenter, I would like to invite Ms. Josephine Ong. Is the Vice President for Cities and Public Services from Dassault System. She will discuss about holistic planning approach for TOD. Yeah, Josephine, floor is yours.
Thank you, Andri. So I have the honor of opening the session. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josephine. As you have heard earlier, I'm the Vice President for Public Sector. So at Dassault Systems, you might be wondering, what do we do? Before I do that, let me just give you a quick overview in my topic. I like to focus on 2 concepts. So you'll be hearing from me what the virtual twin technology means and transit-oriented development. So let's look at what my company does. Can I have the sound, please? So Dassault Systems is the largest software company in France. We're headquartered in Paris. We operate globally across 159 countries. Technology innovation is key for Dassault Systems. And there are many industry examples of how we have helped our customers, from Airbus to Boeing to Toyota. In the context of public sector, some of you might remember a project that we did with Singapore. Together with the National Research Foundation, we developed the first virtual twin of a city 10 years ago. The project was known as Virtual Singapore. It's a digital replica of the entire island for urban planning. It aggregated various data from land use to road networks, vegetation to public housing. And Virtual Singapore was developed on the virtual twin technology. So let's dive into that first concept, the virtual twin. What is a virtual twin? There are 4 pillars to remember in virtual twin technology: modeling, simulation, data intelligence, and collaboration. A virtual twin is a digital replica of the real world for strategic planning. So it starts with 3D model, taking into account various requirements and complexities. It allows you to do various advanced simulations for scenario planning, for instance, urban heat and flooding. And you can run analytics to gather intelligence. And this is presented in charts and also on 3D model. And of course, you can collaborate across project stakeholders and even citizens. So now, let's look at a real-life example of the virtual twin in action. So in the city of Douala in Cameroon, the city's chief technical officer is very proactive in searching for digital tools. And they wanted to use the virtual twin technology to mitigate flood damage as well as reduce traffic congestion. With a 3D model, they were able to visualize impact zones and identify high-risk areas. And through simulations, they could test scenarios, for example, flood mitigation options like river widening or traffic flow possibilities, such as using a roundabout versus a flyover. The simulation results are scored in order to decide the best decisions to take. Now, the second concept, transit-oriented development, also known as TOD. TOD reframes transport design and planning. Today's urban life is very connected. I'm sure you want to get stuff done when you are commuting. For example, to get some groceries on the way home from work. So it's not just about getting from transport A to B. And it's definitely an adaptation to the evolution of how citizens live, work, and play. The idea is to integrate mixed-use neighborhoods around transit hubs. When we think of KPIs such as sustainability, it seems to be a choice between grey infrastructure or green nature. But it doesn't have to be that way if you plan ahead. So think, for example, bus stops could be doubling up as cooling stations powered by solar panels. Urban development cannot be planned in silo from its transport infrastructure. Transport is a thread in the fabric of society, and through value creation, there is an increase in commerce activities and, in turn, employment. TOD provides economic benefits beyond ride tariffs. So I think it's safe to say that transport is more than mobility. Therefore, transport design and planning has to include societal and environmental considerations, apart from engineering and construction. And you have to ensure information is retained for data intelligence in operations. And this is where the virtual twin technology can help. So if you recall the 4 pillars I mentioned earlier, starting with modeling. You have a 3D model that integrates data sources. It provides a baseline before the project happens. And the same model can be used during the project to track progress and governance. And again, after the project, for operations and maintenance. Through simulation, you can explore different scenarios and analyze outcomes. For example, does it make sense to introduce a new metro line versus to change the road layout, or even to enhance traffic policies? When simulation is available throughout the project lifecycle, analysis can take place before the most optimal decision is taken at every stage of the project. Decisions cannot be made based on a few data points. I'm sure you know that. The virtual twin aggregates all relevant data for the project, and it provides a holistic view, especially useful for broad considerations such as climate resiliency. So you can plan with these considerations upfront, as opposed to costly afterthoughts. And with an aggregation of data through a model, it helps with multi-stakeholder alignment and communication, including citizen engagement. And even after the project is launched, information from planning and construction can be used for operations and maintenance. Exchange Square is an iconic example of TOD in Hong Kong. Seamless train, bus, ferry integration with podium and sky bridges for pedestrians. Virtual twin technology comes in handy here to manage the massive data sets ranging from transport schedules to citizen demographics. Iterations of scenarios from planning to construction to maintenance. And there's collaboration across multiple stakeholders throughout the project lifecycle. So as with all large-scale projects, we work very closely with domain experts to bring the virtual twins to life. And I'm very happy to introduce Clement Ho, who heads up TOD at Arup. He's also here with us today, and if you'd like to know more about TOD planning with digital tools, we'll be happy to discuss further with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Josephine, for being exact 7 minutes. So I would like to invite for questions. 2 quick questions or 1 question? Anyone? It's a good opportunity to ask question. Please. Mr. Gibson.
Yes. Thank you. I'm Gibson from Papua New Guinea. I'm very interested with the visual twin on how we can do planning in urban areas. Does the application apply for road network planning and development across rural areas as well? Thank you.
Yeah. Indeed, you picked up on it. It's not just for TOD. The technology is transversal, yes.
All right. Please, 1 more question.
Emil Valiyev from Azerbaijan. So the question would be regarding the TOD principle, transport-oriented development, and the main challenges you come across in the implementation of it, legislation, because in some countries it's not so easy to transform the idea and apply that principle.
That would be a nice question from my friend Clement. What are the challenges faced with legislation?
When we first worked on the TODs, in particular in Hong Kong, and also the mainland China, that how we actually translate the policies and then how we actually worked on the demarcations of multiple levels. Because a lot of the countries, when they look at TODs, they put, for example, bus stops on the other side, and then all the land use are very clear-cut. And where we actually bring in the ideas of multiple levels, who's owning what, is really, really important. So once we get this sorted, and then the schemes will fly. And we have been working on a lot of TODs projects since then. Yeah, thank you.
I think safe to say a big issue is also, as Clement mentioned, because there are many stakeholders, a big issue would be the visibility and transparency across all the different project stakeholders. So there's going to be a need to have a single source, to refer to. And so everybody is aligned on the same outcome. And I think that's important. And that's where, having technology come in to help, that would be key.
All right. Thank you very much,
Josephine.
Josephine.
Thank you very much.
I think that round of applause for Josephine. Thank you. The next one is from Sweden, Mr. Joao Pimentel. He's Managing Director of SweRoad. Please.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. First of all, just a few words on SweRoad. For those who don't know us, we are a company that was founded in 1982 in Sweden by the Ministry of Transportation. And the mission was always to export engineering services and knowledge from Sweden to other countries. In 2018, the company was privatized, but the goal remains the same, and we have ever since executed assignments, consulting assignments in more than 90 countries, focusing on what Sweden has best to offer to the world. So my presentation is a little bit deviated from the technical aspects that other presentations will cover. I will talk about a new, or not a new idea, but a concept that has been consolidated around safe roads as resilient infrastructure. So road safety should be treated as a core investment in resilience. This is the main topic for this presentation. This builds on Sweden's Vision Zero as a principle that no loss of life is acceptable in road transportation. We will cover different aspects that compose this Vision Zero, such as safer road design, data enforcement, vehicle inspection, emergency response, asset management, and institutional coordination, among other aspects. For Asian Pacific, the objective should not be to add loose initiatives and safety measures, but to combine this into a coordinated effort. And we have experience of having just done that in different countries, and it's been going very well, and we recommend, and therefore I'm showing this concept to you. just to give a little bit of context, every year 1.2 million people die on roads. Especially these deaths are occurring in low and middle income countries, 92% of them. 60% of those deaths are occurring in this region, Asian Pacific. We can also measure how important a life is substantially by its economic value. If we can calculate how much it's worth in terms of the GDP, we can reach to 175 to 350 billion per year globally lost in economic value due to these fatalities. How we have been tackling this is using the Road Safety Center model. So many countries have already some loose road safety activities, but they are often fragmented between ministries, agencies, police, hospitals, municipalities, and sometimes they become more of an activism action than a concerted model for tackling and implementing. This proposed solution is a permanent national platform that coordinates policy, data engineering, enforcement, vehicle inspection, training, emergency response, and investment planning. So this Road Safety Center brings together ministries of transportation, road agencies, police, interior ministries, health ministries, vehicle and licensing authorities, finance ministries, and IFIs. So this is not one project, this is a governance system. In terms of the technology that is included in such initiatives, we can describe or list in summary national data, crash database, police and hospital data integration, georeference black spot mapping, speed and traffic data, road asset and signage inventory, vehicle inspection records, driver licensing and training records, corridor safety, dashboards, performance indicators for IFI-funded programs, among others. These digital systems will support decisions and not simply collect data. They should help ministries prioritize interventions, monitor results, and demonstrate the economic value of these investments. In terms of the road design, audits, and asset management, we need to integrate into this system different components as listed here. Road classification and hierarchization, of course, safe design speeds, road safety audits and inspections, junction design and access control, pedestrian, school and village traffic calming, signage, markings, pavement shoulder, drainage and roadside maintenance, black spot and asset management systems that include safety and critical assets. So this transforms the safe road design into a discipline in itself. When it comes to law enforcement, vehicles and people, there's also different priorities and actions that this whole system approach is combining. Modern road safety legislation needs to be worked on, speed management, accessories for safety like helmets and seat belts, drink and driving policies and implementation procedures, vehicle inspection, bus, truck and fleet safety standards, axle load driver training, and you have the list is long, all the way up to public campaigns and on crash data. And finally, where we think the IFI and the ministry should invest, we think the IFI should be moving from funding road safety components towards road safety transformation programs. These investment models should combine, as we mentioned here, road safety center, data systems, high-risk corridor treatments, enforcement, vehicle inspection, asset management, and capacity building. Many of the countries are already creating some momentum around road safety, making available funds and initiatives. In this region, you have examples of India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Vietnam, Pakistan, Cambodia, and some Pacific Island states where we think it's possible to evolve from this standalone road safety initiatives into a consolidated and even multinational initiative. Just to finalize, I can give you 2 examples of projects that we are involved in or were involved in. One in Dubai, where we did the Vision Zero implementation successfully in 8 years, so between 2008 and 2016, with a positive result, reducing 25 deaths per 100,000 to 3, which is the European standard, or let's say the best European standard. And currently doing a project for the EU, different region. I know this is not very relevant for you, but it's just to show that the multi-country modality can also be implemented, where we are creating the African Road Safety Observatory that establishes the policies for 55 countries in the continent and can also be replicated in other countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Joao. Questions? Questions, please.
Thank you for this insightful presentation. Just one question regarding the initiatives. I mean, more on social incentives. What kind of social incentives do you implement or just come across in your experience to drive the behavioral change to maintain the safety?
It's very cultural. Thank you for your question. It's very relevant because the basis of all this, or the success of all this, is the culture of the people. And that varies country to country. So the measures are always different. So how they interpret what they gained with having safe systems is also different. So in the Nordics, it's perceived in one way, in Africa another way. The gain needs to be explained economically, that's what we concluded, so that everybody understands the gains. But culturally, it's an individualized procedure, let's say, to explain that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We still have one for very quick questions. Unfortunately, any burning question have to be later, but any quick question will come. Oh, he's not raising the hand. Oh, okay, he's calling someone else. I need to be very sensitive on movement, hand movement. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Joao. Okay, now the third presenter will be from Spain, Mr. Xavi Pascual. Mr. Xavi is a global director of SENER.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Well, let's talk about smart infrastructures for a sustainable and resilient mobility, okay? Just a little bit of context before we start, okay? These are 4 main topics that applies globally, but let's see what happens here, particularly in Asia Pacific, no? The first thing is the fast growth of cities and how it affects, no, the mobility network, and also how it is increasing, this increase on the people, the safety, okay? And also how it is disrupting the quality of life of people. So this is a key point to take into account, no? Second one is weather change, and how it is affecting, no, this disruption on the climate. It's affecting the quality of life, but also all the life cost of the assets. So we are investing more and more in OPEX and reconstruction due to this climate change, no? Third point is digital solutions that are now available, and maybe 5 or 10 years ago, they were not available. And how we can use these digital tools to improve the way we manage the infrastructures, okay? And finally, we have to consider the whole life cycle of the asset. It's not just CapEx, it's not just OPEX, okay? It's the complete life cycle. And how we can make more bankable the projects, the future projects, taking into account, okay, the resilience of the infrastructures that we are designing, okay? So I have prepared 4 showcases, specific 4 showcases, that has been applied in Europe, okay, but that easily can be applied in Asia Pacific, okay? That is the main purpose of this session, okay? First one, let's talk about climate change and the affection to the ports and inland waterways, okay? Some data here in Asia Pacific, okay? Well, we have a global sea level rise of more than 10 centimeters, okay, due to the information provided by NASA, and this is affecting the whole planet, okay? But in Asia, it has some consequences that has to be taken into account. Also, we have extreme rainfalls, okay, and river flooding. There are huge rivers here in Asia, and how it affects, this flood affects the port operations, okay? I want to highlight this figure. In 22nd century, up to more than 400 million people, okay, will be affected by coastal flooding, okay? And Asia is the part of the world that will be more affected to that. So we have this composition of different risks, the flood, the sea level rise, all of this composed have to be solved and have to be taken from the early stages of any project during the design, for sure during the construction and the operation. But we have to use the digital twins that we have, the digital solutions that we have nowadays to try to mitigate this risk and to try to mitigate the consequences of this risk, that is operations affections. So let's see what we have done in Spain particularly, but it's an European project, okay, called Safari, that the main purpose is to increase safety and resilience in ports, okay? We are developing a generic digital platform, okay, for port infrastructures to enhance resilience to extreme climate events, okay? What is the platform doing? The platform is integrating operational data, maintenance systems, and advanced analytical and predictive tools, okay? Maybe if you can put the video on, I don't know if, no, it's just putting, can you go to the slide, please?
Technical delay will not be counted.
Discount.
Don't worry about it.
It's a stop, okay? Let's see if you push in the top, it will run the video, okay? The digital twin that now it's working. Perfect, thank you. Now you can press the button again. So here you see the digital twin that we have built. Sener, I haven't told you, but Sener is an engineering and consultancy firm. We are software agnostic, so we can work with different tools, with Dassault, but with other software providers, okay? So the important thing and the added value of Sener is the knowledge of the assets, the knowledge of the technology, and our expertise as a designer and a consultancy firm, okay? So continue with the main object of this tool that we are developing. We want to achieve at least 80% of operational capacity during disruptions. This is very important. So when we have a disruption right now, we stop the operations normally. We want to continue the operations at least 80%. We want to decrease 20% of the carbon footprint. And finally, for sure, to increase safety, biodiversity, and climate resilience. Which are the contributions of Sener to this project? The first one is to create the BIM model, which is the easiest part, okay, of the infrastructure, but also the systems. Second one, we are creating artificial intelligence algorithms to be applied for predictive maintenance of the critical assets of the lock, okay? And finally, everything is integrated, okay, in a digital twin, which we will integrate all the maintenance equipment that we have, okay? This is the first showcase that I wanted to show you. Second one, e-buses, okay? We know that air quality, it's one of the huge problems that we have nowadays, particularly in Asia, okay? Most of the cities in Asia do not comply with the regulations, the standard regulations, okay? And this is due to the heavy roads, heavy congestions that we have in the cities, with also the buses supplied by diesel, okay? So what we are working in Barcelona, and it's founded by the European Investment Bank, with the metropolitan area of Barcelona, which is 5 million people living there, okay? We started working in 2021, and it's an ongoing project. It's to make all the change of the buses, okay? Which is the main concern? Pollution, okay? Here you see some data in Barcelona. In 2015, we were with NO2 of 55. European Union legal limit is 40. The target in 2030 is 20, and the World Health Organization guidelines marks a maximum of 10, okay? So when we started in 2021 with implementation of the project, we were in 40. Right now, 4 years before, 4 years later, we have reduced to 32. But in terms of people, and this is the more important thing, is that in 4 years, the reduction in pollutions were associated to a decrease of 30% of the death in Barcelona, okay? More things. The third one, prognosis. Prognosis is an artificial intelligence solution to do predictive maintenance in bridges, okay? We are using fiber optics and distributed acoustic systems to be able to do predictive maintenance on bridges, and with this to try to reduce the cost of maintenance, okay? Here you see some images, and the key points are at the top. We have reduced the maintenance cost in 20-25%, the risk of failure in 75%, the downtime reduction close to 30%, and the return on investment is 10 times. So we are applying here this technology to do predictive maintenance on critical infrastructures, okay? And finally, I want to talk about Respira. Respira is a solution also based on artificial intelligence that was born in Barcelona Metro, okay, in 2018, due to improve the thermal comfort of the oldest line of Metro in Barcelona, line 1, okay? There was huge problems of thermal comfort there, so we want to, now the speakers, I have time, no worries. So the second, then in 2020, there was the war in Ukraine, and there was energy crisis in Europe. The prices increased a lot, so we modified the algorithms to take into account also energy consumption. And it was in 2022. In 2020, we applied also artificial intelligence to do all the air quality control, okay, to avoid the COVID in that case. Some key figures, we are reducing more than 25% the energy consumption, okay, due to this tool that is connected to the BMS and the SCADA of control. Also, we have applied this to airports with 24% of energy saving, and the increase of the performance of the fans, and also the satisfaction of the people. And the return on investment is between 1 and 2 years, okay? And this is what I wanted to say to you. Just 4 takeaways, okay? I think that Asia needs resilient, low carbon and digital enabled transport for sustainable mobility. We have digital solutions that, thinking on the whole life cycle of the asset, should be applied to improve the way that we are doing the operations and the maintenance. This is ready to be here in Asia. We are ready to be here. We have these end-to-end solutions that can be applied very easy, okay? And we are ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One question. One question, please. Of course, after this is lunchtime, so you will have
Masa has a question.
After that. Masa has a question?
Thank you very much for a good presentation. You talked about AI and operation efficiency.
Yes.
And I wonder if it was due to the reduction in the labor, or how do you see the impact to the labor in the operations by introducing the AI?
Well, the AI, what allows is you to make decisions more quick. You are able to analyze data and information very quick, and to be able to make decisions very quick. So you are more flexible, more resilient to the changes that happens due to a disruption in the system. So this is one of the key points of artificial intelligence, is the easiest way to make decisions. Okay, you are able to analyze a lot of data in real time, and you are able to make decisions very quick. And this flexibility in the decisions and these actions that you can make can save money, can improve the operations, can give a good answer to any disruption.
Okay, I think time, oh, I'm sorry, time is up, so you have to bring it to the lunchtime. Okay, thank you very much, a round of applause. Okay, then the next presenter is from Finland, Ms. Simone Sote, the Chief Operating Officer from Finop.
All right. Thank you and welcome everyone. Fun side story, our name, Finnish Overseas Consultants, was actually originally wrong in the program with one N less. And even though we like to finish our projects, we're actually from Helsinki, Finland, which has not only been ranked the happiest country in the world for the last 8 years, but also ranked #1 in the 2025 Sustainable Development Report. And today we want to look a bit at this biodiversity assessment for road infrastructure. I prepared 3 examples from our projects from 3 different countries, and then I'm going to pitch to you the idea of developing a tool for making the processes for those assessments a bit easier and more manageable, especially for the governments. So just a tiny bit of background on Finop. We've been in the market now for 20 years. You see, we work quite across the globe with a strong presence in the Asia-Pacific, especially in Papua New Guinea, where we have a permanent presence, and we've worked with a lot of ADB projects, but also World Bank, UNDP, etc. So to jump right in, the first example is actually from Tajikistan. Those who were in the training session this morning on the Green Roads Toolkit might have heard a little bit about that project already. So this was a rehabilitation or widening of a 49-kilometer regional highway, and we were actually part of the team that was piloting this Green Roads Toolkit in this project. And I think the aspect I want you to take away from this, why I picked this project, is really this different way of looking at road planning, basically, that you incorporate dimensions of climate resilience and biodiversity as core dimensions in the planning, design, construction, and maintenance of road projects. And you really look at it, how can we find design solutions that not only give us a reasonable road, but that also tackle climate resilience and biodiversity at the same. In the morning session, we talked a bit about bioengineering, can be nature-based solutions. So you think about, for example, roadside vegetation that helps with erosion control, but that also benefits biodiversity. Going a bit more into the technical detail, here's our current flagship project in Papua New Guinea. That's actually a feasibility study and detailed engineering design for the northern corridor, the Momasa International Highway. It's an ADB finance project that's implemented with the Department of Works and Highways. I think quite a number of the delegation related to the project is in the room here. We also already heard some of the PNG challenges already from the 2 secretaries present here in the last 2 days. And I think the main takeaway here, if you look at this map, is really the team make a big effort to bring together all the different available data sources that are on the market, that are from different sources. It's mainly secondary data, getting these in, using remote sensing data, using machine learning techniques, and using field verification to do a very thorough ex-ante screening before anything is happening to really identify those biodiversity hotspots. So that's really the core idea here. You see in the colors some of the existing key biodiversity areas. You see proposals for protected areas, and you see a color scheme where we identify important and very important areas that need to be taken into consideration already at the planning stage when evaluating different design alternatives, when thinking about what do we need to do for avoiding negative impact, for mitigating, or for offsetting, depending on what's the case. And this corridor is exceptionally rich in terms of its biodiversity, and it really highlights the importance of being very thorough in this, and at the same time also the complexity. I think also in the last days we already heard that those procedures, if not done early and properly, they can really causing delays at later stage in the project. So our target here was to find procedures to help governments to do those processes effectively and as easily as possible, but also as thoroughly as possible, basically. And one of the key challenges in this is really bringing together the data from all those different sources and harmonizing them and creating like a consistent data set and consistent analysis for this, which can then be verified in the field. The last example here is from our project in Liberia, not quite Asia-Pacific, it's actually a World Bank finance project, but I thought to still include it because it's a very good example of this field verification that was done. So here, for example, you see a picture that was from the camera traps. So we placed camera traps along the corridor to not only first stage look at the secondary data and what it suggests, but also see on site what do we actually find. And here the focus was on these 3 endangered species, the chimpanzee, elephant, and the hippo. And we started by, similar to the Momase corridor, to get all the different satellite data, remote sensing data, and get a first grasp of the corridor, but then really have our teams on the ground to verify what kind of fauna, what kind of flora do we find, where are the endangered species, and do the classification on this basis, and also then give applied solutions. And one key aspect here was not only those surveys, but also really going into the communities, having community engagement, and not just checking what do we see within the 7 days that we are there doing the surveys, but also what's their experiences, what have they observed, what are their concerns, and bring those into consideration. And something what you can do with this machine learning, what I mentioned earlier, is you can take the data that was collected in detail, associate this with other variables that we have in our secondary data, like climate data, biodiversity data, and from this model the entire corridor, essentially. And that's part of the idea of this assessment tool, which I in the end would like to pitch. I think I already throughout the presentation mentioned some of the challenges and the needs that we're experiencing, and the idea that FINOC is currently working on, and also my colleague Dr. Pablo Perez is also here, who's part of the team that's intending to develop this tool, is really to kind of do what we showed you now for these 3 different projects, but make it a tool that's actually accessible and can be used by people. So we want to bring together this different data and do it in a way that government representatives, consultant practitioners can also feed in their project data to it and lay it over, and with this do this ex-ante assessments or biodiversity assessments of the corridors. So that's the idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yes, I would like to invite questions. It's very interesting. Please go ahead.
Thank you for these initiatives, but I'd like to ask a question a bit beyond our planetary boundaries. And sorry if you consider that question relevant to your presentation, but you have been operating 20 years. Have you ever thought of or dreamed of building the green environments, for example, in Mars, or more harsh environments than our planet?
It's an interesting and inspiring question. I think so far we've tried pushing the boundaries by adding more countries on this planet to our portfolio, but I see the eyes of our managing director blinking, thinking about the idea, so we might pitch this for the next one.
Thank you.
it's
Thank
a
you.
million-dollar question. Okay, any more questions? We still have time. It's a very interesting topic that you were presenting to us. Thank you very much. But I would like to invite any responses, questions. Otherwise, we can move on to the next presenter.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. The next presenter is from Spain, the director of IDOM, Mr. David Moncholi.
Okay, well, thank you very much. As Ivo says, I am David Moncholi. I am director of the Mobility and Transport business line of IDOM. For you of you who doesn't know IDOM, IDOM is one leading Spanish consultancy firm with almost 6,000 employees in the world, with strong presence in, of course, Latin America, Middle East, Europe, some Africa, and also here in South Asia. We are actually making the detailed design of an MRT4 metro line here in Manila. I am a transport planner. I don't know how many of you are transport planners, but if you are, you will definitely identify the problem and the solution that we have proposed. It's called Public Transport Planning Tool. This is one tool that we have developed in IDOM in order to make agile the process of route planning, transport planning, or designing the transport network or the suitable transport network of a city. This type of design, public transport networks and routes, is one fundamental pillar of sustainable mobility, along with active mobility. And this is what we are doing in many places in the world. In order to make mobility in our cities more sustainable, proper planning of a comprehensive public transport network that meets mobility needs of these citizens becomes a crucial strategy. And this is always what we say. Our transport network needs to meet mobility needs. And for the design network to meet these mobility needs and to help achieve sustainable targets of the cities, a profound knowledge of the demand is required. So you need to understand demand, from where to where people want to go in your city or metropolitan area, irrespective where it is, whether it's here or in Europe or in Latin America. You need to know from where to where people want to go. Unfortunately, even if demand data is abundant and accurate, and we are moving in a world in which this data is more and more often available, mobility, sensors everywhere, and origins and destinations can clearly be identified. These kind of elements we already know. Deeply understanding of the demand so that our network is fit for it is most of the times difficult. The traditional analysis of origin destination desire lines does not offer a quick way to understand from where to where people go, and therefore represents a burden for agile network planning. This is just an example of my home city in Valencia. On the top, you have the typical origin destination desire lines of bus stops, from bus stop. The second one is how our tool represents mobility. In the first one, it's pretty difficult to see from where to where people go. In the second one, you are able, even if you have never been to Valencia, but you are able to identify at least 2 or 3 main vectors so you can start understanding mobility. In a fast changing environment, acute crisis, energetic pandemics, structural mobility changes, we need to have the ability to plan, adapt, and our networks in a fast and a robust way to safeguard resilience. That's why we developed a tool which is called Public Transport Planning Tool, that helps identify, easily and automatically identify mobility patterns and helps aggregate those trips into main paths that really allow you to design your transport network so that it really meets demand. We have developed in a graphic interface with Python, and actually we're running it on Visum nowadays, but it can be run on any other software, as it's been programmed outside of Visum. It's easy to import, modify. You can export some of the outputs. The only inputs that our solution needs is the typical TAZ, so transport analysis zones. This is common language in all planning processes throughout the world. Here in Manila, when we did the demand study, we had our mobility surveys, our transport zones, so we can apply it. And you need an origin destination matrix, which again is a typical classic language on transport planning. I mean, you cannot do proper transport planning in a city if you don't have that matrices. The outputs, our tool gives three main outputs that can be, manipulated and can be modified through the type of matrix that you enter. First of all, it generates a spider desire network, which allows the mobility dynamics to be better understood. Second, so it really allows you better understanding on the mobility flows. Second, it makes a flow bundle analysis so that you can aggregate and bundle mobility vectors so that they can easily understood and therefore you have a quite better, deeper picture of mobility. And the third one, which is also interesting and the last and unique step, is the path generator. The path generator, it's an algorithm to identify those routes which maxify demand and are consistently different amongst them. And that was the mathematical problem that we had to solve, is how we consider a route to be different from another one. This is a picture again of Valencia. And we have been implementing since we since we developed the tool in many places, not only in Europe, but also in places which have more difficulties or challenges in implementing. For example, on the left side, you have the typical origin destination matrix display of a city. That's Amman in Jordan. Second image is how our tool converts that origin matrix visualization into a one in which you can easily start seeing. I don't know if I can point it out, but you can see, the main vectors of mobility. Actually, the bigger one is now being built as a BRT, and the third one is the outcome of our network that we propose using the algorithm. In Marrakech, for instance, you have on the left side the typical transport model assignment, and if you follow that, you might design a bus network in Marrakech, in Morocco, which would make a turn on the northern side of the city. But once you apply our algorithm, it is pretty clear any of you could design the BRT network in Marrakech by looking at the second picture. The more red, the more passengers. So it is pretty clear from where to go. And that's why we propose, instead of a typical BRT system in which you have a trunk road and then some feeders, we proposed 6 semi-directed BRT lines, because these were the ones who maximized demand in Marrakech. We used that in the recent project we finished last year in Zanzibar, which is a restructuring of the bus network and electrification of the bus network. Again, typical OD matrix, how it looks like, and then the final result. We've done it in Madrid, Cartagena, Bogota. And before I finish, one last example, which I am proud of. I don't know if you're aware of it, but in October 2024, Valencia, my home city, was hit with the most severe floods ever to be registered. From 1 hour into the hours, the whole southern part, and you can see the brown area, how the area was completely flooded and devastated. Within hours, the third biggest metropolitan area of Spain, 2 million inhabitants, was completely ruined. And I mean ruined. I mean, the whole metro system and the whole commuter rail system were destroyed. The control center of the metro system was completely devastated. That's how it looked like. Nearly half of the daily public transport commuters were left stranded throughout the metropolitan area. Half of the private vehicle fleet on the affected areas were gone. 1 out of 2 cars completely disappeared. On the northern part of the metropolitan area, nothing happened. Life continued as always. It was really kind of a dystopic situation in which part of your metropolitan area is destroyed and the other one is not. So mobility changed because we have access to the origin destination matrices. Mobility changed. This is how mobility dropped in some areas while it kept in other areas. Together with the regional government of Valencia, we worked in one single weekend because we had to keep the metropolitan area moving. In one weekend, we introduced our algorithm with the analysis on the evolving origin-destination matrices, and we were able to design an emergency route network based on buses to keep the metropolitan area moving, and that was possible because of our way of agile planning. Simply just to finish, our tool facilitates the quick design and update of transport networks to maximize demand, I have to highlight it, enabling public transport stakeholders to act and respond fast to any type of challenges, whether it's normal planning or really urgent things to be done in order to strengthen the resilience of the mobility systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Question. This looks like very technical, but why not? Even I have my own question, but probably after this.
Okay, great.
Yes, please go ahead. Wow.
Quite interesting presentation. Just one quick question. How do you identify or define the gender? Because in one of your slides,
Yeah, as I said, the way to manage the tool is through the origin-destination matrices. Nowadays, we are able to have origin-destination based on gender, female and male. And if you look at any city, they really behave different. So if you put in our tool female origin-destination in a city, the resulting network is going to be fit for female mobility needs. If you put male, it will be fit for male. We try to play with both genders in order to have a complete network. But yes, we are able to distinguish by income, by age, by gender, just by deciding what is the input origin-destination matrix on the tool.
Great, thank you.
Quick one, Javed.
So for these tools to predict the desired lines and do the analytics accurately, primary data collection is very important. Yep. The accuracy and the duration of the primary data collection. So when the southern area of the city, which you just mentioned, was struck by disaster, how did you decide, how did you do the analysis? Because the primary data collection after the disaster would be a challenge for you, and you did everything within a week.
Yeah, this is one advantage that we have in Spain nowadays. The Ministry of Transport is serving on a weekly basis nowadays the origin destination of trips throughout the whole country based on mobile data. So in that particular moment, we called the ministry and they gave us, day after day, the origin destination of the whole metropolitan area. We can monitor that. Since COVID, in Spain, you can monitor daily trips throughout the country through mobile telephone data. So that was the advantage here. Without that, we should have done a more traditional from the static origin destination matrix approach. In this particular case, thanks to the availability of origin destination data through mobile, it was easy, let's say, to do.
Okay, I think time is up. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Thank you. The next presenter is from France, Mr. Emmanuel Rousset from Aegis.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for the invitation. It's already noon. I hope you are not too much hungry. So my name is Emmanuel Rousset from Aegis. It's a French leading engineering group acting worldwide. And I'm based in Thailand, where we have a design center producing particularly bridge design. So bridge design for worldwide, but also for Asia region. And so Bridges are a key asset for railway and road infrastructure, and so it's important to make them sustainable. And the first step to get them sustainable is the design. Design stage is this first step, and I would mention three families of recommendation for a sustainable design. The first one is material choice, and also their protection. So concrete, steel, and also concrete cover and corrosion protection. This is generally defined and specified by international standards. The second one is to anticipate future requirements. So it can be future flood level, future traffic loads. And the third one is to keep in mind all along the design stage that every critical structural elements need to be easy to access, easy to maintain, easy to inspect. This is design stage. I will not go into detail because it's quite standard, but I will focus more on the rest of the life cycle of the bridges with inspection and repair through 5 projects that we have been working on recently. It's working. Oh, okay. First one, so let's go to Bangkok, Thailand, where we perform for different operators structural inspection. There is a huge network, more than 400 kilometers of elevated structures for metros and highways. And there we perform, we propose maintenance plan, inspection plan to our operators with this idea of being systematic and regular in order to be able to anticipate structural issue. And this anticipation through inspection allows to have, in general, minor action which are compatible with repairing without any traffic disruption. It's an important objective for our clients. Case study number 2, moving to the Middle East, where we have been involved in this project of detailed structural health assessment of this important bridge linking Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. It's a key asset in a marine aggressive environment, and we perform a full detailed structural assessment, and it allowed us to first confirm that the structure was in a good condition. We have been able also to prove that the service life could be extended beyond the original 75 years. And one important point is that we have, on this project, developed a GIS platform where we have been inputting all the data collecting during the inspection. And this GIS tool is very convenient for the client for this asset management because they can locate every defect along the structure geographically, and they can also identify the priority in their asset management. Now let's go to France for the 2 next projects. So this one is Calix Viaduct in Caen. It's a key asset for this city, but also for national traffic in this region. It has been identified that this bridge was suffering for important insufficient longitudinal bending resistance at the main span. The pre-stressed concrete showed important and significant cracks. And so it has been decided to make urgent repair through two main actions. The first one was to install additional pre-stressing tendons. So, and we can see on the picture the anchorages, the anchor blocks that are required to connect this additional pre-stressing to the existing structure. In that case, the repair was really urgent, and it has been possible to plan this repair without or limited traffic disruption. Another project in France, it's the viaduct crossing the Var River. On this project, we can see the impact, some impact of climate change. Actually, this bridge crosses a river that has regular floods, but with this climate change, the floods are more and more powerful, more and more frequent. And in 2020, there has been a huge flood, exceptional in terms of strength. And following this flood, it has been discovered that the foundation and the concrete piles had been damaged significantly with a concrete erosion. And so this damage show how the climate change can accelerate the degradation of the structures. And so important measures of repair have been involved, including covered arms, and also the concrete pouring was quite difficult for this repair, but it was a quite expensive repair for the client, but compared to a complete replacement of the structure, demolition, reconstruction, the choice is quickly done by the client. Repair is the best solution, and also for sustainability. Last example, still in Europe, this is a cable stay bridge in Latvia. This bridge is more than 40 years old, and it shows important corrosion at the level of the deck. The steel deck is corroded, particularly at the location of the bottom anchorage of the cable. And it has been decided to replace all the cables of this bridge. It's a complex structure, and replacing this cable needs a complex construction sequence using temporary cables. All this complexity leads to, and this is what I want to highlight on this project, for structural repair, proceeding through a design and build contract is an advantage, or even it's a necessity for this kind of project, because it allows to really integrate design checks, construction sequence, and traffic disruption with integrated collaboration between the designer, the contractor, and the operator. Yeah. So as a conclusion, we through this 5 projects, we can see a wide spectrum of what we can do on bridge structures during their life cycle in terms of inspection, systematic inspection, but also strong repair and cable replacement. And if you remember at the beginning of the presentation, I talked about design. design is the first step. It allows to anticipate and give more power to react during the life of the structure. And so the idea is to find a balance between these three actions that we can have on the bridge structure. Balance between the investment at design and construction stage, between the effort that we can bring for inspection, and all the decisions that we need to take for strengthening or retrofitting. And I would say that the right sustainability strategy is about finding this good balance between these three ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite one question only. Okay.
Wow. With regard to materials, can you just mention one example in the form of evolution of materials throughout? Because you have been doing some repair works to the bridges, retrofitting works starting from 1981, etc. What is the passive evolution of materials that make them more sustainable during the operation and life cycle?
Let's take the example of a structure in a marine environment. Marine environment is very aggressive, and from the design, you can choose composition.
Recording in progress.
You can choose precisely the composition of the concrete that leads to what we call exposure class, and based on this choice, it's well defined in the international standard. You can choose a concrete that you know that it will evolve correctly during the time of the structure, despite this aggressive environment. But all along the
next question has to be later.
The service life, which is generally now 100 years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Right, our last presenter is from Mr. Yves Barthélemy. He's from the European Space Agency, but actually also with us, ADB, as well. Please.
Hello, nice to meet you all. Mabuhay. Okay, so it seems you said it was a very informal type of session, but still I see a lot of ties. I don't have mine. I'm really sorry for that. No, so, okay, that's good. Okay, so my name is Yves Barthélemy, so I have in a way two hats, but of course I'm working within ADB, but I'm also a focal point to the European Space Agency. So here at ADB, I am part of the digital sector. And digital sector, if you know it, it's a brand new sector because, as was said also by Bertrand Furneaux at the beginning, digital transformation is a key pillar, a key topic, a key objective also of ADB within to transform Asia Pacific. And so digital sector has a huge responsibility. It's a growing sector. Myself, I am more specialized on Earth observation and how it is used for many different applications. So I would love to say today that we are building with between ESA, European Space Agency, and ADB a new satellite together or a new system. Not yet, but you know, it might be in the future, in the near and the coming years, that we have this kind of investments also. Who knows? It's happening in other places with other development banks, for example. I'm already deriving from my text, so you have to tell me here. Yes, so ESA and ADB. ESA is the European Space Agency with 23 members, mostly European, but we have a lot of collaboration with Canada, for example, and other, of course, and all the space agencies around the world, from NASA to ISRO to JAXA and all of these space agencies. ESA and ADB have been partnering since a long time now, at least 15 years. And I would say that the joint objective of this partnership is mainstreaming Earth observation within operations, which can mean many different things, but it's really to make sure that not only transport sector, but all sectors and operations are benefiting using Earth observation and, in a way, geospatial information also. So since the beginning of this partnership, there were around 50 projects already supported in 30 countries, multi-sectors, so today it's more with the transport. We are, in a way, starting a bit more on transport, working with the colleagues from the sector. So yes, we as it was mentioned also by previous speakers, I think that we are facing consequences of a rapidly changing world, but thanks to satellites, we are maybe better placed today to monitor many of these challenges. We can forecast the weather, we can answer important Earth science questions, provide essential information to improve agricultural practices, maritime safety, help when disaster strikes, support effective policy making for more sustainable future. And I think it's important for you here today also is benefit businesses and economy in all manner of everyday applications. And I was happy to see that in a way a lot of Earth observation was already mentioned, and I saw a lot of maps, also many very good, very related topics. So I just mentioned this. You might be aware, for example, of the Copernicus Sentinel program, Copernicus program, the European one, with a satellite constellation. So all of these satellites are collecting information around the Earth every day at any time of the day and since 2016. And all of these, and this is, I think, what is also key and why we are also promoting the use of these fully free and open source, open data accessibility. So which gives a lot of opportunities also. It doesn't mean that there are not other satellite providers, of course, but these one at least can be used. So what are we doing with all these Earth observation satellites? I mean, with this Earth observation from satellites, we can detect many of the threats, hazards, climatic, as it was mentioned already also in many of your presentations. So from floods, satellites, and we saw some image in Valencia, but it is used already operationally in many different places. Drought, heat waves, which is a key topic also, where satellites are used also a lot. Not only European satellite, but many others, very interesting, and other satellites are also used. Geohazards, so with a lot of applications for Earth observation, ground motion, interferometry to detect subsidence, and all of these. So that it's important to monitor hazards, to quantify hazard, but it's also important to monitor assets. So the exposure, what is exposed. So here in this room, I think that we are not only interested, but more interested by road transport infrastructure, which is in a way an asset you are monitoring as we saw it. So, but we also want to plan better cities, better countries, better transport, better mobility. So from satellite, we can derive settlement extent very often. We can also assess population estimation, other type of assets, but which are also connected to supply chains, like cropland, pastures, and roads and infrastructures. It's a 7 minutes, so I will not go into a lot of details. I think that ADB has already understood, and ADB and ESA have understood it since a long time, even I would say without ESA, but Earth observation is already embedded in many or all the phases of project cycle. It could be better, it could be more consolidated, I'm sure, but from very concept phase, design to preparation, implementation, evaluation, there is a lot happening at ADB, so we are happy also to hear any stories you have or any ideas you have on how to use them, ESA or not, to be clear. So because it was a European session, I am more myself working on, in a way, Asia-Pacific and promoting the use of Earth observation in Asia-Pacific, but I will describe a few European maybe use cases that can be translated or that have already been translated. Italy, for example, ground motion from satellite is used operationally to monitor the movement of the road infrastructures. It is already in use, for example, here in the Philippines within the Copernicus Philippines, which is a project with the European Union and ESA implementing. There is now a ground motion operational service in place. Air pollution, so I think it was mentioned that it can be, yes, connected to transport. There is interesting also projects at more European scale. Maybe some of you are already, some of European companies are already interacting or part of this, but Copernicus CAMS, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service, that monitors on a regular basis and that has designed a certain number of services, operational services, and there are collaborations with Asia also. For example, in Korea, they have a GEMS satellite with the GEMS global monitoring of air pollution, where there is also cross coordination and cross validation so that you have a global map of pollution. So more on the, let's say, the forest risk assessment evacuation planning, but that is maybe more on the planning side, on the resilience side. Forest fire affecting countries, DMCs more and more. This is an example of another of the emergency service in Copernicus program, where a certain number of space-related products have been generated to map evacuation plans. Here it is in Croatia, which is very forested islands and touristic also, and so a lot of application there. To finish with one example, digital twin. It was mentioned also in many of your interventions, presentations. Virtual twin was also mentioned. A lot of efforts are made these days. Programs also. So you might have heard about this. I think I had another. No, okay. Destination Earth. So what's interesting, I think, with the digital twin is that it can be applied at many different scales, and also many different users have a different definition sometimes of what is a digital twin. But what I think is key for an institution like ADB and DMCs is to be able to have enhanced tools that can help them plan, build scenarios. What if I build here? What if climate change happens here? What if there is more pollution in that area, etc., etc.? And so you have many different applications of these digital twins. Earth observation is part of it, as can be seen as a fuel of this also. It can be intensively used or less, but it's a component of it. I mentioned one of them, which might relate also maybe more to transport planning in cities, but you could have a look, which is called City Nexus. where you have the possibility to plan based on many different parameters and to build different scenarios within a city. It is currently piloted in 4 European cities: Copenhagen, Sevilla, Bologna, Aarhus in Denmark. We are working very closely also and to see how it could potentially expand to some other cities in Asia Pacific. And you see the scale is also interesting when there are also some cross countries issues, cross countries challenges, and so digital twin is not only maybe on one bridge, but it can be seen as something regional, what happens at a different scale.
Yves, just remind you with the time.
Very good, very timely. This is my last one. So you can access this website that will describe a bit more what ESA is doing with ADB and not only in transport, but with other IFIs. And here it's more for you European entities here, companies, because in the end ESA is not a company, but we are promoting also some of our European companies. So check ESA website, bid to the tenders when there are some nice tenders. Whoops. To operationalize and mainstream Earth observation for development operations. Thanks a lot.
Okay. A very quick question. Very quick questions from the back. No, I pretend not to see you. No, joking. joking, please.
So are those capabilities free of charge or payable? For example, we decide to use it, so is it subject to certain fees, etc.?
I thought it would be a nice question on March, because then maybe I could have a reply. No. So first of all the data sets from Copernicus are completely free of charge. So, and I'm sure that some of your companies, the biodiversity experts from Finland, are already using some of them. Yeah, I don't know if I answer your question, more or less. Or the way you want to collaborate with ADB on this, or?
No, it's probably a question over the lunchtime.
Okay, good. We'll take it there.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. For the closing remark, we are pleased to have ED Martin Tapie with us. ED Tapie, please, for the closing remark.
Thank you, Andrew. Nothing better than a Canadian to close the European session. Don't worry, I'm also representing 6 countries in Europe, including Finland and Sweden. Let me start by thanking all of our speakers for a very highly insightful and practical session. Quite a substantial journey taking us from Bangkok, Papua New Guinea, also Cameroon. We went to Valencia, Spain. We took a detour to Mars even before having Yves on the stage. And Yves was kind enough to mention Canada before going back to space, so that was great. The objective of the session was to move from ideas to impact, and I'll come back quickly and I'll be brief, don't worry, about impact. But we certainly had the opportunity to discuss available innovative solutions for the Asia-Pacific regions, which is great, and that's what Bertrand was wishing at the beginning, that we could learn. So for some of us, I'm sure we've learned a lot. Others are confirming that solution exists, and many of them are ready to be deployed. And some of you would say at scale, because yes, we're in a bank and we're looking at scale and bankable projects, and we're measuring things with money and dollar figures. It's a bank, but we also like at the board to focus on some other elements because it's a development bank. And that's where I want to bring back the impact. And we're focusing a lot on measuring, yes, speed and amount of money and big loans, but it's always coming back to development impact. and how are we having collectively with all of you impact on populations that we're serving, including vulnerable groups in the population. So just want to bring this back to this key element, and Mr. Pimentel had a great answer to one of the question, very short, but he said it's cultural. So solutions to be deployed and implemented need to also be well adapted to where we do operate. And I think that cultural dimension and the reality of and complexity of where we are, and I know you know all of this, is essential to what we're doing. And I'm very biased. I think that Europe and Canada can bring a lot to the bank in terms of finding some solutions that are implementable. And the bank can be a good enabler. It's implementing itself, but also enabling and facilitating the implementation of credible, sustainable, resilient solution for the population that we're trying to serve. It's complex, and multilateral institutions like ADB, and I've worked with many others, are complex and frustrating, but rewarding. So on this, I certainly hope that we can continue to collaborate and work together at accelerating the implementation of transport systems, solutions that are resilient, inclusive, and sustainable, all buzz and keywords, but I would say realistic for the need of all of our populations that we're serving. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edith Abib, representing Canada, Denmark, Finland, Ireland, the Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden. Right, with this, I will not steal your lunchtime too much, so I would like to invite you to join me giving a round of applause to all the presenters for this session. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the forum.